Okay, I have 7:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Board of Adjustment, October 21st, 2021. Amy, can I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Fuller? I know you're there.
I'm here, sorry.
There we go.
That's okay. Mr. DeLomo?
Here.
Mr. Manel?
Here.
Mr. Van Wagner? Mr. Ashkenazi?
Here.
Mrs. Beal?
Here.
Mr. Mamie?
Here.
Chairman Worrell?
Here. All right, we can all do the salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. All right, we have the chairman's statement. The notice of the required open public meeting law of this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the notice has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Coaster, and filed in the office of Ocean Township on July 16, 2021. The board will hear no new cases after 10 p.m. and no new testimony will be taken after 10:30 p.m. In addition, the applicants will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. All meetings will be video recorded and taped and shown on the Ocean Township Community Cable Channel 22, Verizon Vios, and Channel 77 Cablevision. All right, a couple of housekeeping orders. Can we approve the minutes all in one package, or do we have to read them month by month?
If I'm not mistaken, we have different people voting for different months because of attendance, correct, Amy?
Yes.
So you have to offer each one, and only those people who attended those meetings are going to vote on them.
Okay, so council, can I offer April 15th, 2021? Okay. I need someone to offer approval for minutes from April 15th, 2021.
Move that we approve the April 15th, 2021 minute.
There would be a second by Ms. Beal. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Amy, call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Yes,
Mr. Ashkenazi?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Mamie?
Yes.
Chairman Worrell?
Yes. I'd like to offer May 20th, 2021 minutes for a vote.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
yes,
Mr. Ashkenazi?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Mamie?
Yes.
And Mr. Worrell?
Yes. I'd like to offer July 15th, 2021 for approval.
Second.
Mr. Fuller?
yes,
Mr. Ashkenazi?
Yes.
Ms. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Mamie?
Yes.
Chairman Worrell?
Yes. I'd like to offer September 9th, 2021.
Second.
Wait,
August.
did we miss August?
I'm sorry, August 19th, 2021.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Fuller?
yes,
Mr. Manel?
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi?
Yes.
Mrs. Beal?
Yes.
And Chairman Worrell?
Yes. And last, September 9th, 2021, I offer.
Second.
Mr. Fuller?
yes,
Ms. Beal?
Yes.
Mr. Mamie?
Yes.
Chairman Worrell?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Amy, can you please mute the audience? Resolutions and memorializations. Again, can we do them as a group or do we have to individually call
I believe.
Mark's been muted.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
There we go. Oh,
There we go. I believe that they were from the last meeting, and everybody who voted them on them all voted the same, so they can all be introduced together, correct, Amy?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, by name, or do we need to do lot and block?
Well, you need to read, yes, just read them the way they appear on the agenda.
Okay, first one is Daniel Chen, block 31, lot 24, 100 Orange Street, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. Next one, Lucy Salerno, block 33.41, lot 1, 716 Talmadge Avenue, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. Next one is Nancy Sutton, 1999 Children's, block 40.01, lot 13, 10 Dwight Drive, Ocean, bulk variance. Next one is Jack Ebzar, block 47, lot 9, 211 Parker Avenue, Ocean, bulk variance. And Richard, next one is Richard J. Valerio, block 121, lot 9, 1409 Wanamassa Road, Wanamassa bulk variance approval. I need a motion. Or do we need a motion? No. Yes,
A motion and a second, and then a vote.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second.
Second,
Amy, please call the vote.
Okay. Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
yes.
Mr. Mamie, Chairman Worrell,
Yes,
okay.
okay. Case is carried to November 19th, 2021 on Zoom. Will be D-Dip Automotive Group, block 137, lot 1, 2, and 3, 807 Highway 35 Ocean. The next one is Kenneth Greenstein, block 22, lot 9, 204 West Morgan Avenue, Ocean. Next one is Soror Land Development, block 22, lot 85, lots 85.01, 280 Norwood Avenue, Ocean. Next one is Regiba Wiener, block 131, lot 9, 1309 Wekapeka Avenue, Ocean. Next one is Shanna Realty LLC, block 141, lot 3, New Jersey Highway Route 66, Asbury Avenue, Ocean. And the last, next one is Anthony Russo, block 138, lot 52.01, 900 Roselle Avenue, Ocean. And the last one is Daniel Sower, block 46, lot 10, 107 Parker Avenue, Ocean.
All those cases will be carried without any further notice to the meeting of November 18th, 2021. As I said, without further notice. There will also be carried, I don't know if you're aware of that, Chairman, number 4 on tonight's list, David Catan, block 22, lot 26, 284 Roosevelt Avenue, Oakhurst, will be carried to the meeting of November, what did we say it was?
18th.
November 18th, 2021, but there will be new notice. The reason that's not being heard tonight is that I felt the notice was deficient as to what they're going to do. So there will be new notice both in the paper and to the surrounding property owners for that case, number 4 tonight.
Okay. Which brings us to our first case, number 1 for this evening, Seaview Corporate Park Limited, block 149.01, lot 1.01, 2603 Route 66, Ocean, New Jersey. We have, this applicant is to construct and operate a facility providing assisted living, long-term care, skilled nurse care, rehabilitation, and memory care. The construction will require variances, including lot depth, building height, number of units, parking spaces, among others. The attorney for the applicant tonight is Counselor Jeffrey A. Donner.
Good evening, Mr. Donner. Before you begin, If the board will recall, several months ago, this matter was before the board, and there was a question as to jurisdiction, basically raised by and the attorney for an adjacent property owner being the Cedar Village development, which is actually the adjacent property owner. As Mr. Donner has confirmed, and I have confirmed with the attorney representing Cedar Village, there's been a resolution between the parties for both jurisdiction, which they will commit to, and that I will deem appropriate jurisdiction in this case, and the notice is appropriate. Also, they have worked out their arrangements as to easements across respective properties so the development can continue. Those easements, I understand, Mr. Donner, will be presented to us at a later date as the site plan is formalized, because some of the site plan development is on the Cedar Village property. But for these purposes tonight, I have been reassured and I have confirmation by email that the objection as to jurisdiction has been withdrawn, and Mr. Donner may proceed tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg, and good evening to members of the board. I do affirm everything that Mr. Steinberg said, and in fact, I'm holding documentation that is just awaiting review on some of the aspects of it, but we have reached full agreement. I'm very excited about being here tonight. I don't intend to take a long time in introduction because we have a lot to present to you, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you a little bit about the project, because it began a number of years ago with conceptual meetings with board professionals and members of the administration of the town, and we reviewed what we were seeking to do and why this was so important to do. I said at that time that Ocean Township is a community of, I'm forgetting what it's a community of, to tell you the truth, but it's a community of.
Gracious living.
Say that again?
Gracious living.
Gracious living. How could I forget that? But if you're
Nice
going to
people,
have
Tim.
gracious living, you need to take care of the needs of your residents. When my 96-year-old mother, actually she's about 94, required assisted living, she had to leave the township and come down to me in Jackson to get the kind of facility that she needed. There is nothing like what we are proposing to do that currently exists in Ocean Township. And yet, as I'm proof of, we have an aging population. We have a need for this type of facility. And more important than just a need for the services that we're going to be rendering, to make them affordable to people who have normal amounts of savings. So all of that is extremely important. Assisted living, I just want to define our terms and then we'll turn to the specifics of the application. Assisted living is a mode of living for those who need some assistance in dressing, bathing, and prescription medication. And what this facility seeks to do is to give them as independent a lifestyle as we possibly can. That means they have their own apartment unit, their own bed, their own decorations within their apartment to make it as close to what they're used to as possible. They have full and free access to their unit as if they had an apartment on the outside. Yet they have nursing care, they have accountability, and they have safety. They also have the ability to maintain the relationship with their own physician or with physicians that have privileges within our facility. We have nurses to look after them. And depending on the level of care that we're talking about, and we'll talk about the different levels in a moment, that care gets closer and closer to the kind of acute care that you might expect in a hospital. They also have a variety of activities, both pre-planned, announced, as well as facilities within the assisted living area to occupy them and to challenge them and to give them as full a life as they possibly can have. Long-term care are for those individuals who need not acute care, but more care than can be supplied in assisted living. And rehabilitation can also be said to give that same type of care, except these people are in some type of a short-term situation because they've had an illness, they've had an accident, they've had surgery, and they need a short-term level of rehabilitation, where they then can come back to assisted living environment or an environment outside the facility. And lastly, what we're offering is memory care. And this is a sensitive area, an area where we are caring for people who, even though they may have physical abilities, do not have appropriate mental capabilities in order to function within an assisted living facility, but can be cared for in a memory care facility that seeks their needs on a specialized basis, which is intensively watched, which is sealed off from the other portions of the facility, and which can meet their needs on a daily basis. So that's what we're trying to do. And as I said before, there's nothing in the township that provides these 4 elements of care. There is, I believe, a memory care facility, which is a very small facility, 16 beds. There are some facilities in the surrounding areas, surrounding towns, that may provide assisted living or may provide long-term care. They most likely don't provide all 4 of what we're talking about, with, I think, only one exception. So this is an important addition to the township, and one that I think is sorely needed. And that obviously is for you to determine. We're going to need a use variance in this application because there's nothing in the zoning ordinance that makes a provision for a facility of this nature. And in our site plan application, preliminary and final, we may also need some bulk variances, although that can be discussed, because since there are no standards for this type of facility, it's kind of tough to determine what we need a variance from. And many of the variances that we would otherwise need would follow the use variance if in fact it is awarded. So I'd like to begin the presentation of our application with our engineer representative, Dave Besh from Nelson Engineering. I believe he's in attendance at the moment. Dave, are you available?
Here.
Good to see you. Can we swear in?
Counselor, can I interrupt you for 1 minute,
Yes.
please? I just want to remind you, you only have 45 minutes. I have 5 other cases behind you, so please use your time strategically tonight.
Well, I'm about to bring my first witness.
Okay, very good.
Okay. I'd like to present Dave Besh from Nelson Engineering. I believe he's appeared before the board previously. If you would care to swear him, we can proceed with the testimony.
That's me. Let's see.
Mr. Besh, you've been testifying before this board in the past, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Okay, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Amy, I think we may need some permission to share some of the exhibits we're going to be making reference to.
Okay, you or Mr. Besh?
Mr. Besh.
Okay.
Dave, could you put forward the first exhibit so we can begin your testimony?
Amy, do we have anything to mark into evidence?
We have a packet.
I do have a packet, yes.
Okay, can you please enter that in and mark it?
Yes,
B1?
you won.
Thank you.
All right, the first exhibit within the A packet or A1 packet is a particular rendering of the property that I'd like Mr. Besh to share with us so we can talk about the overall view of our site plan.
Okay, can you see the rent? Because I have it shown on my screen. Does it appear on yours?
No.
I don't see it.
No? Still no?
No.
Nope. Nothing. No
Do you
bother.
have a green arrow in the bottom middle that says share screen?
Yes, I do.
Sharing has been disabled by the host.
There we go.
Are we good? Good at this point?
Yes, I see it. I see it.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Mr. Besh, can you identify what you have placed on the screen for us to share?
Okay, this is an aerial photograph that I downloaded from Google Maps that depicts the subject property outlined in yellow in its relationship to the existing uses surrounding it. diagonal across the bottom of the screen is Route 66. The curved road to the right of the property is Cedar Village Boulevard. And again, the property is outlined in yellow. South of Neptune Boulevard is Neptune Township. And of course, the Ocean Township making up the balance of the exhibit. To the north and east is the Cedar Village subdivision property. To the northwest is the Nobility Crest project. So what we've done is we've superimposed a rendering of the proposed site plan on the aerial photograph to show the location of the proposed facility, its access road, and its surrounding traffic aisle and parking. And it's basically its premise to the neighboring properties. So
Okay,
going
and-
to,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
so going to, shall we say, a little bit larger exhibit. This is the site layout rendering, which gives a little bit more detail on the proposal. The proposal is for the property to take its access located approximately 150 to 200 feet north of the intersection of Route 66 and Cedar Village Boulevard. Vehicles entering the property from either direction of Route 66 would proceed north on Cedar Village Boulevard, and before reaching the gatehouse for the Cedar Village complex, would make a left-hand turn into the driveway, proceed up the driveway to the facility. Now, this site, as everyone I'm sure knows, provides some challenges. Some of those challenges are the location of a water feature, a pond, and its associated wetlands in the southern area of the site. But one of the more prominent concerns is the change in elevation. The existing grade down at the intersection of Route 66 and Cedar Village Boulevard is approximately elevation 60. The peak of the existing hill is at approximately elevation 140. So there's an grade change of 80 feet from the intersection to the top of the hill. So one of the challenges that was put to us was, how do we provide an accessible but buildable platform upon which to build this facility? So one of the solutions that we went back and forth as to, should we look for access from somewhere else on Cedar Village Boulevard? That turned out to be not an option. So we are taking our access from within an easement area that was created and has been affirmed with the homeowners association at the southeastern edge of the property. But then we need to traverse up the slope to get to the buildable area. I might jump ahead a little bit to one of the other exhibits to show that one of the driving factors for the selection of this location on the property was the fact that the majority of this area of the site had already been disturbed at some point in time during the course of development and creation of the Cedar Village project. That exhibit, this is, I call it A6. This is a clearing limits exhibit. What this shows are three items. First, in the upper right-hand corner is an aerial photograph from the New Jersey GeoWeb website, which shows the subject property. You can see Route 66 across the diagonal lower left corner and the jug handle for Hillside Avenue. So the site is centrally located within this photograph, and it shows that it was a predominantly wooded site in 2002. We jump to 2007, and you can see Cedar Village Boulevard has been constructed, some of the associated peripheral roads within the Cedar Village project, but there's also been disturbance in the center part of our property. It's our understanding that this area was used as what we refer to as borrow, where soil from the top of the hill was taken and used within the development of Cedar Village project. So what I've tried to relay in the colored part of the exhibit is the reddish orange depicting those areas of the site that were previously cleared and disturbed. The yellow depicting those new areas proposed for the disturbance as part of this project. And then the green areas are those existing wooded areas that will remain undisturbed. So when it becomes all said and done, we are proposing to disturb only approximately 2 additional acres on a 13.5 acre site, whereas approximately 3.9 acres had already been previously disturbed. Going back, as I mentioned, one of the challenges that was presented to us was the access. We're aware there's a significant grade change, so and limited to the point of access to Cedar Village Boulevard south of the gatehouse. We designed a roadway that traversed up the slope at a percentage that's equal to what you would experience on a barrier-free ramp. The slope on that roadway is 8%, 1 in 12, with a lesser grade at the bottom, so that vehicles coming down the driveway would have a more level area in which to slow down before stopping at the intersection. And of course, the parking area and aisles, traffic aisles up at the top would have a maximum grade of 5%. So with the proposed driveway is proposed to be 30 feet wide. We did an analysis with a fire vehicle. This is exhibit number, I call it A7, which is a fire apparatus turning plan showing the vehicle could enter from Route 66, traverse north on Cedar Village Boulevard, make the left turn onto the subject property, up the hill, and around the facility without interacting or obstructing or interfering with the parking around the perimeter of the site. So what we're proposing is a multi-story building. I believe there's 4 stories associated with this building. 4 wings where the residential units are held, and a central core where the life practices are and supplemental services are provided within the central core of the building. There's an array of barrier-free parking spaces right at the front entrance at the south side of the building. Service area is located on the north side or the rear of the building. In developing the platform upon which to build the building, I'm going to get back to the issue of the top of the hill being at elevation approximately 140. And I'm going to go to another exhibit, A5, which is a south to north cross section from Route 66 on the left-hand side to Cedar Village Boulevard on the right-hand side of this exhibit. As you proceed from left to right, you can see the area, the wooded area that is going to remain adjacent to Route 66 as you progress up the slope to the area where the driveway will be traversing the slope. Again, another area of vegetation to remain to the development platform. Now we show the development platform with the finished floor elevation of the proposed building being at elevation 110. And as I had mentioned before, the top of the mound, which would fall approximately in the center of the building, is at elevation 139. So we're actually proposing to cut the grade in the center of the highest point by approximately 29 feet. This does provide the level construction platform, but we also provide, I don't know, I see the photographs of some of the observers on the right-hand side of my screen. I don't know if you can see the entire right-hand side of the screen in your views. But there's a,
Dave, those photographs, the pictures can be moved. I just moved mine.
okay, let's
So I
try
can
it.
see the whole
There,
screen.
there we go. What I've noted here on the extreme right-hand side is for the Nobility Crest project, which falls to the north and west, we had our survey crews go out and measure the finished floor elevation of building E, which was under construction at the time of the survey, showing that their finished floor elevation of their first floor is elevation 131. So our finished floor elevation is going to be 21 feet lower than theirs. So the relative portion of the building that would be comparable to theirs is only about 25 to 30 feet in height relative to their finished floor elevation. With regard to parking, as was mentioned before, and Mr. Ray, the traffic consultant, will go into detail, as will the consultant for the operator. We're providing 153 parking spaces. The question has arisen whether that is adequate or whether that is excessive. So, of course, we would ask the board members to listen to the testimony of the other professionals, and then based upon what they hear, to determine whether the excessive parking spaces should be green banks, built, or not constructed at all.
Dave, can I just ask a quick question on parking? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer already, but there was some confusion. The narrative on the project says that there will be employee parking under the building. And I see nothing on the plans that indicate that. I'm guessing there is no employee parking under the building.
At one of the iterations of the design, the basement was removed. And the reason the basement was removed, number one, there is a concern about the amount of soil being removed from the site, and that would just have exacerbated that.
Yes.
But we're also proposing a substantial underground stormwater management reservoir, which we did not want there to be any conflict between that reservoir and basement areas.
Okay, so there's no parking under the building.
No parking under the building.
And just one other quick question, going back to your elevations that you showed, what is the height of the building? Because the application says 60 feet, the architectural show 49.5 feet. And I just wanted to get that clarified.
Mr. Higgins, I'd like to defer that to our architect, but I can tell you
The only reason I'm asking Dave is because he showed elevations showing
Okay.
the height of the building. So I
Okay.
want to know what those elevations show in terms of the height of the building.
I can tell you the elevations if Dave does not have that.
Okay, I do have the architectural plans here somewhere. I keep getting the shared screen menu to come popping down.
But you based your elevation on a height of the building. I'm just wondering what that was based on.
These were the sketches that I was basing that on, and they were based upon the different parapets at elevation 44 feet. Plus, we also were depicting the architectural embellishments,
Yes.
the ridge lines. So you can see that the peak, being the highest part of the grading shaded area,
Okay.
was based upon those architectural plans at approximately 54 feet.
54 feet. Okay. Because I calculated it to be just under 50 feet. That's, so we'll let the architects, as long as you use the plans and that's accurate, we'll let the architect come up with the exact figure.
Okay, thank you.
You want to turn towards the drainage facility since you made reference to them, Mr. Besh?
Okay. Part of the way through the design phase, we actually met with representatives of the homeowners association, whereby they expressed a number of concerns on the project. One of the primary concerns they had would be the impact of stormwater on their drainage system. They expressed concern that they felt that their system was at its capacity and could take in no more. And just as a brief aside, one of our earlier drainage alternatives called for us to construct a detention basin at the extreme north end of the site, whereby we would tap into that drainage system for Cedar Village Boulevard. After the meeting with the homeowners association representatives, we scrapped that idea. So that northern area is to remain undisturbed. What we are proposing is a series of 4 underground stormwater containment systems. 2 of those containment systems are located within the side courtyards between the wings on the east and west sides of the proposed buildings. Those systems would accept rainwater only from the roof surfaces of the proposed building. That water would be considered clean from the perspective of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and could be recharged back into the ground with no further treatment. Once those systems reach their capacity, they would overflow to the main stormwater management system located underneath the southern or front parking lot. That system is comprised of very large concrete cisterns. And by very large, we're looking to store approximately 100,000 cubic feet of water in these concrete boxes. Now, underneath this parking lot, these concrete boxes have an interior height of 10 feet. So you can see that these are big. We're holding a lot of water at the top of the hill, because another one of the concerns that the homeowners association representatives mentioned was water seepage through the retaining walls that lined the west side of Cedar Village Boulevard. So by containing our stormwater within an enclosed box, we would minimize any groundwater transference through the site to the retaining walls along Cedar Village Boulevard. An outlet control structure located near the west end of that primary underground system would then release the stormwater to proceed down a drainage system that flows down the driveway toward Cedar Village Boulevard at the point of access. When we reach the bottom of the hill, there's the 4th and final stormwater management system located essentially behind the big billboard out on Route 66. Again, it is underground, and we would take the reduced flow from the main system plus the stormwater flow from the driveway, hold that, release it at a reduced rate, and discharge it into the existing catch basin located at the intersection of Hillside Avenue and Cedar Village Boulevard, downstream of the last detention basin within the Cedar Village complex.
Dave, in layman's terms, 100,000 cubic feet is how many gallons each one of these containers are going to be withholding?
Okay, a cubic foot is approximately 8.4 gallons, I believe. So we're looking at about 800,000
gallons per unit
of water.
Okay, thank you.
And from the area that you pointed out to the catch basin, Mr. Besh, where would the water go to from that catch basin?
Okay, from that let me go to page 4. And I'll zoom in. Okay, so here is the 4th and underground system through a stormwater treatment device to a new catch basin that we would be constructing, and then connecting it down to a catch basin, said located at the intersection of Hillside Avenue and Cedar Village Boulevard, and from there discharges into drainage system associated with Route 66, which eventually meanders underneath Route 18 through Seaview Square Mall and into Deal Lake. One of the next issues that was brought to our attention was the concern about buffering. What would the residents of Cedar Village Boulevard see? So a combination of exhibits that we hope alleviate their concerns. One is the landscape plan, which shows that we're looking to preserve as much of the existing vegetation as possible in the area immediately adjacent to Route 66 and Cedar Village Boulevard, along the entire southern side, along the predominant western area adjacent to Freehold Road, a significant buffer in the north. The areas where it's fairly thin, we're proposing, I believe it's 183 evergreen trees and 57, I believe, actually it might have been 67. I'm sorry?
87, I believe.
87 shade trees to be placed at the discretion of the township officials during the time of construction, to be placed appropriately so that they're most effective, both at the top of the development as well as along the retaining walls, top of the retaining walls of Cedar Village Boulevard. We're also proposing some upgrades to the landscaping and signage at the entrance just outside the gatehouse of Cedar Village in order to coordinate their aesthetic package with the aesthetic package proposed for the Arbor project. What I think was the last major concern was lighting. How would the proposed lighting for this facility impact the adjacent residences? What we're proposing are LED fixtures, which would be a low wattage, using bollards and low profile shoebox style fixtures. Now with the LED package, you're able to provide for effective backside shielding, because the LEDs can be focused in a forward direction. So the lights along the perimeter of the proposed facility would all be focused into the facility. And then you would also have a series of streetlights just lining the entrance driveway. There are a few bollard lights, which would be low level and would not be visible from Cedar Village Boulevard, and a few one or two wall mounted lights in the service and maintenance areas of the building. So all told, the maximum height of the tallest fixture would be 20 feet. And with the backside shields and the sharp cutoff, zoom in tight so you can see that the effective foot candle ratings as we approach Cedar Village Boulevard are approaching 0. So there should be no illumination of Cedar Village Boulevard from the lights proposed for this facility. That is a very succinct and tight nutshell of what the applicant is proposing. Mr. Donner, is there any topic that you feel I
Yes.
should expand upon?
Yes, I'd like to have you point out our facilities on site for waste and materials of that nature, where that would be located.
Okay. Actually, let's go here. As I mentioned, the service area for the building is located on the north side. So where you'd have the main drop-off zone immediately after you come up the driveway, service vehicles would go around to the back side of the building where there is a screened solid waste management enclosure, as well as a loading area for other deliveries, food products, and other sundries that would be used by the facility.
Now, you haven't commented on why we had chosen a 4-story building, and in particular, I guess, considerations that went into that regarding the site. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Well, because we were looking to limit the area of disturbance to what was had previously been disturbed to the greatest extent possible. So in order to provide the proper parking,
Excuse me, Dave. One second, I'm sorry. Amy, would you mind muting everyone so Mr. Besh can have his time? Go ahead, Dave. I apologize.
Thank you. When we provided the development platform for the facility, we realized that the wings that were had originally been proposed as a 3-story building were way too long. But in order to for the project to work, the units had to be recouped somehow. So what we did was, again, lowered the platform to elevation 110, so taking 29 feet out of the top of the hill, but adding that 4th story to recoup the requisite number of units so that we could provide for a circumnavigating driveway and parking, so emergency vehicles could to get to all sides of the building while still providing a unit count necessary to support the project.
If we had a lower project, a lesser number of floors, would there be more disturbance to the site?
If we were to make it a 3-story building, but lengthen the lengths of the wings, yes, we would be disturbing more of the site and probably have to lower the entire platform even further, resulting in more soil removal from the project.
And under those circumstances, all right, let me back off that. Could you explain to us where during the construction process the traffic that would be used to build and erect the facility, how that would work?
Okay, since we understood the sensitivity of the entrance to Cedar Village Boulevard, what we are proposing is that construction traffic will use Freehold Road. Access would come up from Route 66 or down from Route 66 or Asbury Avenue, enter Freehold Road, traverse to the western end of the site, make whatever deliveries or activities are necessary, and upon leaving, would also leave through Freehold Road. So at the end of construction, part of our obligation would be for the repair of Freehold Road for whatever needs were necessary.
Right. Could you also focus on what else we are proposing to do in Cedar Village Boulevard in conjunction with the requests of the Cedar Village community?
Okay. As part of the discussion with the homeowners association representatives, the applicant has agreed to refurbish the guardhouse, the gatehouse, providing for utilities that don't currently exist there. We would be relocating the gates to provide for more queuing space at the gatehouse. Visitors would enter through the left lane, with homeowners gaining access through the control gate with a key fob. We're also proposing to widen the lane south of the cut-through aisle in order to provide for a queue lane for left turns into the Arbor driveway. There was concern that during the peak times where vehicles might be entering or exiting, that a vehicle stopped to make a left turn into the Arbor driveway would block incoming traffic. So we're proposing to widen the travel lane to provide a left turn queue lane, which will allow the free flow of traffic up to the gatehouse from Route 66. We are looking to restore and refurbish any disturbance that occurs during the construction of our access driveway, coordinate those aesthetic improvements with the signature landscaping and signage of the Cedar Village Homeowners Association. And we're also proposing to provide 2 parking spaces for the attendants of the gatehouse, because it's our understanding that the gatehouse is proposed to be manned rather than relying on telecommunications and telemetry.
Are we also doing anything for heat or air conditioning or other facilities for that to be occupied by men and women?
Yes, a full air conditioning, heating, ventilation system is proposed, as well as a restroom and sink facilities, which don't currently exist in the gatehouse.
And the gate on the way out, can you just describe how that works? The traffic engineer, Mr. Ray, will get into more in more detail, but can you just give us an overview on how that gate leaving Cedar Village will work?
Okay, one of the concerns that was expressed was safe sight distance, which again, Mr. Ray will go into greater detail with his testimony. But the concern was the speed of the vehicles that are exiting Cedar Village Boulevard. So the proposal is, and I think it has already been implemented, is that the gate controlling the exit traffic will be functional for 1 car only. So essentially a vehicle exiting Cedar Village project would be required to stop at the gate. The sensors would then raise the gate and then the car would proceed. So the vehicles from the gate would be proceeding from a stop rather than a continuous 25 or 30 mile an hour speed, or even a 15 mile an hour speed, which is currently posted. So the vehicles have to come to a full stop, wait for the gate to open, then proceed. That delay providing for the gaps in the traffic for left turning vehicles to enter the site.
And Ms. Best, does the site plan also make provision for the soil erosion plan, the environmental plan regarding trade-offs between any transition areas and any areas that we might need? I just want you to make the board aware of other features of the site plan that they could see.
Okay, and I'm referring to A4, which is the full set of site plan drawings. Within that package, there is a soil erosion and sediment control plan, which does show we're essentially wrapping the entire development area with filter fabric. As you all are probably aware, the filter fabric is that short 2-foot-high black fabric that you see around construction sites that controls soil from being washed away from those construction sites. We're showing the hatched area, which would be the stabilized access entrance from Freehold Road, where all the construction vehicles would be entering the subject property, showing the topsoil stockpile, where the topsoil that remains on the subject property, or that we would be storing from the subject property, would be held, wait for construction to be completed, and then be respread on the landscape areas of the site. As I mentioned early, the environmental, that's not that. Bear with me a moment while I track down the environmental plan. My apologies.
Amy, how are we doing on time?
It's close to 45.
Okay.
I will very quickly, as I mentioned, there is a pond with an associated wetland areas. In order to bring our roadway up, we need and provide for our stormwater management system, we need to get a re-verification of the wetlands line, as well as a transition area waiver averaging permit. A transition area waiver averaging permit is where, in order to reduce the buffer in some areas, which would be down by the lower detention basin, we would be giving back buffer in other areas in equal or greater amounts, so that the integrity of the area of the transition area is available to protect the wetlands. So that is part of the proposal, is for a transition area averaging waiver, in which we would be actually increasing the size of the transition area by just under 1,500 square feet.
Okay, in light of the fact that our time has just about run out, we can conclude Mr. Besh's testimony for now and allow the board to proceed to the next applicant.
Counselor, will you be bringing him back next meeting?
Yes, because he needs to have questions from the board and also
Okay.
from members of the public.
Very good, very good. Mr. Bish, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Chairman, would it be possible to ask questions now while it's fresh in our minds?
I've got 5 other cases to go. Once we get into it, I've got questions myself. Do you have one quick one?
I was just going to ask about the reports from the fire department and from Ocean Township Police, and whether or not they've addressed those, the fire truck turning radius.
Well, hold on one second, John, just to let you know, there'll be Dave, there'll be a traffic engineer, there'll be an architect. Dave will be coming back, and he hasn't even completed his testimony yet. So it's going to be.
Okay, I got you. That's great. Okay, I took it to mean that he would just come back and then say, any questions?
Oh yeah, no.
More to go. Okay.
I think Dave has quite a lot of wind left in him for his testimony. Is that fair?
Fair enough.
Very fair.
Okay.
Mr. Donner, thank you very much.
Thank you, members of the board. I appreciate your patience and your time.
Okay. With that being said, we have our next case on for tonight, which will be 3500 Sunset Avenue LLC, Block 43, Lot 1 and 2, 3500 Sunset Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey. It's an R2 zone. This is an applicant for a minor subdivision, approval subdivision for Lot 3, combine a portion of a newly subdivided lot within Lot 4 into form Lot 4.01. Also, the preliminary and final site plan approval for construction for a construction of a 50,100 square foot warehouse, as well as seeking a conditional use variance, associate bulk variances. Attorney tonight is our Salvador Esquire. Oh, so I'm sorry, Alfieri. Are you everybody here tonight?
He was part of the Burke contingent.
Okay, can someone unmute the Burke party? Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Salvatore Alfieri, Cleary, Giacobi, Alfieri, and Jacobs on behalf of the applicant. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good, okay, thank you. We have several witnesses to present for this application. As the summary that was given by the chair indicates, we have multiple levels of relief. We have a minor subdivision to take land off of one parcel, attach it to the primary parcel, which is the subject of this application. We have a D1 variance for an area that may be used for outdoor storage. We have D3 variance because we have a conditional use variance that we need, and then we have several bulk variances. We have Mr. Bosch, who you just heard in the prior application, who's going to be our first witness, and therefore I'd request that he be re-sworn for this application.
We'll accept Mr. Bosch's testimony. Would you please? Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the whole truth? Then, excuse me. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Bosch, the board has accepted your credentials. Would you, and I think, do you need to get the screen again?
Yes, if I could,
Or you
please.
Before we do that, just excuse me, we have a packet, right? A board packet. Can we get that marked as B1, Amy?
Yes.
Thank you, Amy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Proceed, Mr. Fish.
Okay. All right, and is the share screen back on
Yes.
again? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
What I've first brought up, first exhibit is the boundary and topographic survey of the property. It identifies the property at 3500 Sunset. The property contains two lots. One is the vacant parcel located at the south end. North is to the pointing to the left, so it's somewhat unorthodox orientation, but south end of this site is the vacant parcel. The north end contains an existing one-story light industrial building with its associated parking and loading areas. The applicant, the overall area is approximately 10 acres in size. What the applicant is proposing to do is first start out with a minor subdivision, whereby he's taking approximately 159 feet by 280 feet out of lot 3 and conveying it into lot 4, creating two new lots, each one, the existing structure and existing light industrial building, approximately a little over 5 acres, and the new southern end, lot 4.01, being just under 5 acres. The issue that arises with that subdivision is, and I'm referring now to the site plan drawings, is the zone line between the I-1 industrial zone and the C4 regional shopping center support facilities zone would run through the new lot 4.01. So roughly that 159 by 280 foot rectangle, although being in lot 4, would fall within the I-1 zone. So now we'd have a split zoned property. The applicant is proposing to construct a warehouse, a 2-building warehouse facility of a total square footage of approximately, approximately 50,000 square feet. The smaller building at the south end would be adjacent to the ring road of the Seaview Square Mall, with the larger building, approximately 33,000 square feet, being nestled into the slopes at the north end of the building. Access would be provided from both Roller Road and Bloomsbury Avenue. The fronts of the building would face outward. So the front of the southern building would face south to the Seaview Square Mall. The front of the northern building would face north toward the existing light industrial building, with a center corridor being the loading area for the warehouse facilities. By orienting it this way, we provide a nice, clean and aligned access aisle for the larger interstate highway semi-trailers to enter, service, and exit the subject property. One of the items that we need to address as part of the use variance application is that in order to provide flexibility to potential tenants for this location, the applicant is seeking what we're referring to as an optional outdoor storage area. Some of the prospective tenants have expressed a desire to store materials outside, and we felt we were able to provide that opportunity to them with an alternative where we provide for outdoor storage in the central corridor area outside or to either side of the main access aisle through that area. We had a TRC meeting with the township's professionals and the board's professionals to discuss this issue. And one of the main concerns was our ability to screen that area. So what the applicant is proposing is 2 screen walls that would extend past the facade of the building on both buildings on either side of the driveway. That screen wall would then have a landscape buffer oriented toward Roller Road. So the combination of the wall and the landscape buffer would effectively screen that outdoor storage area from any traffic traversing past on Roller Road. Go to the landscape plan, which it might be a little bit more effective. Okay, you can see the landscape buffer, which in and of itself hides the screen wall. There is also a grade change that from Roller Road down to the prospective storage area, there's an approximate 8-foot grade change. So the screen wall also serves as a retaining wall. So the effective height of the screen wall and retaining wall is about 8 feet. So substantial material could be stored there and still not be above the screening of the wall nor the buffering. The drainage solution that's being proposed is more of a conventional system. The site topography, the high end of the site is toward the northwest corner near the intersection of Hopewell Avenue and Roller Road, with the low end of the site being the intersection of Roller Road with the CV Square Ring Road. So we're proposing at this point to have 2 surface style detention basins. One basin located at the northeast corner adjacent to Bloomsbury Avenue, which would then discharge to the main basin located at the southern end of the site. Again, once providing for the required containment time, that water would then be released to an existing stormwater system located within Roller Road at rates below what currently exists today. Other utilities are readily available in both adjacent roads with water service, sanitary sewer service available in Roller Road. Part of the, shall we say, the aesthetic package is the landscaping proposed. One of the things that was, I consider, above and beyond the call of duties was the requirement by the applicant to provide a continuous row of ornamental flowering trees around the entire perimeter of not only the new proposed warehouse facility, but to complete and finish off any missing landscaping along the balance of this property's frontage of Brielle Avenue and Sunset Avenue. So essentially, we would have our own cherry blossom festival that would occur along the roadways in the springtime for this facility, which the applicant has indicated that he's doing in most of his properties through this area. I just thought that was a nice gesture on their part to enhance the aesthetics of what is normally an undramatic area. And finally, again, the lighting, the same style of LED shoebox fixture, low profile with backside shields to eliminate and reduce the spillage of any illumination beyond the property line or past the pavement and activity areas. I guess I should probably start to look through some of the, or not start to look through, but go through some of the review letters to address some of the concerns and comments presented by the board's professionals. To start off, I did notice from Mr. Matlack's review letter that I had not provided to him the most current drainage report. He referenced I don't know whether the report was not delivered or somehow just did not manage to get to Mr. Matlack, that we have a July drainage report that I believe will address most of his concerns and comments as they relate to the stormwater management part of his comment letter. That being said, let me go back to the start of his letter and go through the issues he brings forward. The first variance that Mr. Matlack references is the variance for a change in grade of more than 2 feet. The site does have also has a significant grade change from its northwest corner to its southwest corner. So in order to provide for a level development platform for the two buildings with a common grade so that the same access aisle could service the loading platforms for both buildings, because the natural change in grade necessitated our ability to change the grade by more than 2 feet at any point. The variance that triggered our appearance before the Board of Adjustment was a conditional use for a warehouse facility that requires a 75-foot rear yard setback, where we're only proposing 50 feet. Now, that occurs along our northern property line. Now, normally you would look at this and say, well, that's not a rear setback line, that's a side setback line. But within the definition section of the land use ordinance, it defines that the corner lot of which this would be classified corner lots shall provide the minimum front yard setback for the respective zone for all intersecting streets. Where a building faces solely on one street, the rear yard shall be provided to the side of the architectural rear of the building. Actually, that wasn't the section I was looking to read. Why do I have that section? I don't know. But there is a section that would classify this as the rear of the building. So therefore, that became the rear yard rather than the side yard, necessitating the 75-foot setback requirement.
Yeah, Dave, I can clarify that for you. The ordinance requires that every site has to have a rear yard. And since that property line is the only property line of the site that is not a front yard, it has to be the rear yard.
Thank you. I knew it was in there somewhere. I just pulled out the wrong page.
I understand.
Continuing on, The landscape islands, we were just a little bit undersized on, I'm sorry, let me zoom in. We do have the majority of the landscape islands with a radius of 5 feet would make them 10 feet across. So I believe we have satisfied that component of the ordinance, except for, say, a minor area in the area of the screen wall adjacent to the southwest corner of the northern building. That area might be less than 10 feet wide.
But that's not adjacent to parking in a parking lot, so I don't think the ordinance would apply there.
And then it would also be the narrowest point of certain islands where there's a 4-foot radius, but they widen out. So there's a question of, does the average apply or the minimum?
Yeah.
So we'd be requesting a waiver on variance on that item. The applicant is proposing the parking spaces to be 10 feet wide, which would comply with the ordinance requirement. Typically, we've been asking, most applicants are asking for 9-foot wide, but we are providing the required 10-foot wide parking spaces. The location of the curb cuts, the ordinance requires the curb cuts to be located within the center third of the property. The one adjacent to Roller or from Roller Road does satisfy that. It's the curb cut to Bloomsbury Avenue, which does not, predominantly because the Bloomsbury Avenue has not been extended to its full length. So we are only proposing to connect to the improved section, which falls outside that center third of the Bloomsbury Avenue right of way. And then the other variance is the combined fence and wall height of not only the screen walls to the optional outdoor storage area, but there are also retaining walls along the northwest corner that would require variance relief in order to control the slopes in that area. Next item would be a waiver that's we've requested is for the provision of a tree preservation and location plan. We go to the title page, which has the aerial photo. You can see that the site has been disturbed in the past. The peripheral vegetation around the exterior of the unimproved roads and of course the roller road, to qualify, it would be qualified mostly as northern pineland vegetation with pitch pine and some scrub oaks and successional maples and black locust trees. We would respectfully request that due to the successional nature and low quality of this vegetation, that a waiver be granted for this element. But we also noticed in the Environmental Commission's comment letter, they did not offer an objection to that request. Regarding the location of street trees, we believe we have satisfied the number of street trees and the placement of street trees along the perimeter of the property, along the rights of way, referring to the landscape plan. You can see they are spaced approximately 40 feet on center. There are a number of existing trees along the frontage of the existing building at the corner of Brielle Avenue and Sunset Avenue. And we're just supplementing where those trees are missing to make the row complete in compliance with the ordinance. Next item is the provision of sidewalks along the perimeter of the site. We are proposing a sidewalk to be continued from the intersection of Brielle Avenue and Hopewell Avenue down to the Ring Road. We are not proposing to continue that sidewalk around the Ring Road or along Bloomsbury Avenue, where there currently are no sidewalks at this time. But we felt the location along Brielle Avenue and Roller Road was appropriate since there is a bus stop located in that section of roadway. The waiver to measure the distance from the property line to the nearest driveway and intersection. Well, our property occupies 2 intersections, so the setback distance to the nearest intersection is 0 feet. And I believe on Sunset Avenue, there is no other driveway between our existing driveway to Sunset Avenue and Bloomsbury Avenue. And again, our other driveway would be the ring road for Seaview Square. Again, the issue of sidewalks and pedestrian walkways is listed. Waive the requirement to show traffic control devices necessary on streets and highways. I believe we are proposing traffic control signs at the intersection of our driveway with the streets, as well as painted stop bars and painted stop bars and stop signs on our interior driveways as they intersect the main or central service aisle through the center of the site. Soil borings. A number of soil borings were performed on the site. We'd just like clarification as to the depth of the soil boring or test pit to be advanced to 20 feet below the finished detention basin elevation. That is an extreme depth. My understanding of the stormwater regulations advocated by or passed by the state and advocated by most towns require that the soil testing be to a depth of 8 feet below the bottom of a stormwater recharge facility. Now, we are not relying on stormwater recharge at this location. The reason being the site having a previous history of disturbance, the soil is classified as what's known as a eudorthant. Now, within the New Jersey groundwater recharge spreadsheet that is part of the required stormwater management calculations, there is an identification that, and I'll quote from, again, this is the report that I did not get to Mr. Matlack, is that eudorthant soils have negligible groundwater recharge capacity, and changes in ground cover will not alter the average annual groundwater recharge provided by the site. So since we are not proposing to recharge any stormwater, since it would effectively be ineffective, we request relief from the requirement for providing a test pit of a depth of 20 feet and be allowed to rely on the soil tests already performed and will provided.
Well, I don't really have an issue with providing relief from the 20 feet. I believe that came from the BMP manual, if I'm not mistaken. But what I noticed in your report and the permeability test is that the soil does drain. It does permeate into the ground. So I don't necessarily see that there's no impact whether you recharge or not. I understand that the soil maps show the eudorthant soil type, but I think that your boring and your permeability test show something different than what the mapping indicates.
I understand. Another concern that we have is with regard to advocating groundwater recharge in a site in this close proximity to the property to the south, which at one point in time was used as a landfill. So I don't know what the proper etiquette, shall we say, is for in this situation where groundwater recharge is unfortunately not technically required because of the classification in the existing mapping, and we're not proposing it as part of our drainage solution.
Well, is this property within the landfill?
No, it is not.
That's outside of it, correct? Okay.
Dave, if I could suggest, if you could provide Mr. Matlack with that report after the meeting, perhaps go over that issue in more detail before the next hearing, because we're obviously not going to finish tonight. Perhaps you can get on the same page.
I will definitely. And again, I apologize. I don't know why this report was not provided to Mr. Matlack at the time of the last submission.
Well, I apologize too. I've only been with the board for a few months, and I know that the report I have predates my existence with the board. So it was provided at the beginning, and just I never got a copy of the updated one. But that's fine. I will definitely look at the updated report, and as you said, it probably answers most of the questions that I had in my review letter.
Okay, continuing on with regard to building or identification signage. At this point in time, a sign package has not been developed, but we'll be sure to do so with any future submissions, because as has been said, we're probably not going to get through this tonight, and we'll provide it prior to the next public hearing. The written description of the proposed operations. At this time, these buildings are not user specific. It is proposed for warehousing, and it's ancillary office and or over-the-counter retail uses typically associated with this type of warehouse distribution facility, but specific employee numbers and hours of operation and anticipated traffic volumes, we don't know at this time.
But we would certainly stipulate that any user or the multiple users that are on site as a whole would comply with the parking. There would not be a parking variance associated with the combined uses. Correct?
That's correct. Next item goes into some detailing regarding the dumpster enclosure. We had provided a detail. The dumpster enclosure is within the central service corridor at the western end. We had shown for a solid wood enclosure, and Mr. Matlack is recommending a masonry dumpster enclosure at that location. We are proposing control bollards that I understand his concern that in industrial areas, they have a tendency to be battered. But with the control bollards that we're proposing, we believe that we can provide adequate protection to those wood fences.
And just to interrupt, the clients who you all see sitting at the table indicate that they would do both the bollards and the masonry enclosure to address your concern.
All right, thank you. Number 4B, the existing contours on lot 3 are requested. We would request a waiver from this item, since there is actually, other than the 3 or 4 street trees that we're proposing to fill in the gaps along Sunset Avenue, we're not proposing any activity in Lot 3. So we would request a waiver for the topographic information on the balance of Lot 3. Architectural plans, that will need to defer to the architect, who unfortunately was not able to join us tonight. Traffic and circulation, we will provide a emergency vehicle and service vehicle turning guideline. Stormwater management, we should probably defer all these until Mr. Matlack has had an opportunity to review the most current report, and we will take into account some of his comments and possibly even update that report further prior to the next hearing. Landscaping and lighting, the light luminaire that is in question will be relocated. And the pole mounted lights to be provided with an exposed foundation 36 inches above the finished grade. We will provide that in the detail. Getting into section 9, the miscellaneous comments.
Well, we have a planner to address A, and B, you've agreed to provide the details for signage, right? So it's really, you'll address C and D.
We will provide C, D, and we do have applications before the various peripheral agencies, and those applications are pending. Jim, on your report, do you think the majority of this we've commented on, or should the balance be really addressed by Christine?
Well, okay, just to clarify the conditional use variances, there may be a variance for the unoccupied open space between buildings. The ordinance requires 40 feet on a wide unoccupied space because the buildings are going to be 40 feet high according to the plans. And if you have the storage between the buildings, then the only unoccupied space is going to be the 30-foot driveway. So that'll be a variance that's necessary. And then I have comments regarding that a minimum 25-foot wide landscaped area providing substantial visual screens shall be provided between any warehouse use and a regional shopping center site. So that would be along the ring road. And just, can you comply with that requirement?
Well, one of the
My
other
recommendation is compliance, but
I believe there was another comment put forth in the Environmental Commission's letter about requesting that we actually clean up, shall we say, the area between the subject property and the ring road. I guess they were concerned about the quality of the vegetation or the maintenance of vegetation.
Yeah.
So what we had discussed is approaching, since that area does fall within the right-of-way of Bloomsbury Avenue, I guess we would need to petition the mayor and council for authorization to conduct any activity in that area.
yeah, I would think a good idea would, and I'll bounce this off of Mr. Alfieri, is to petition mayor and council to vacate that section of Bloomsbury Avenue, because I don't see it ever being improved. In fact, when I looked at it and I looked at your access, while technically it's not in the center 1/3 of the frontage, I think it's in the center 1/3 of what will be the actual street, improved street frontage, and probably meets the intent of the ordinance.
So,
So
yeah,
I would
we would
just
certainly,
request to vacate.
Mr. Higgins, we would certainly make that request. We just can't make a condition of approval that. the
Yeah,
mayor
I
and
know
council
that.
grant the request, but we'll make the
Yeah.
request.
I think that my condition can be a request to vacate, but not necessarily a condition that it be vacated.
Fine, that's
And then
acceptable.
the only other questions I had, Dave, and I may have missed it, is the height of the retaining wall and the grading on the north end of the site adjacent to the developed portion of the site. And it looks to me like the height of the retaining wall is at 109, I believe it is, but it seems that the grading starts at 115. above the wall. So, and there's no top of wall.
Correct. I see what you're saying. Yes, we
Yeah.
have noted in other areas, the top of the wall. There's a terraced wall, a lower wall down
Yeah.
closer to the
Yeah.
traffic aisle, which is noted as the top of wall is
Yeah.
106, 108.
Yeah.
And then we started with a notation top of wall 109,
Yeah.
but did not provide any, and you
Yeah.
are correct. You see the 115 contour. So
Yeah.
we would have, if there's 107 to 115, that's about an 8-foot differential. So we would have 8 foot plus at least a 3 foot, if not a 4 foot high chain link fence on top of it for an
Yeah.
overall height of 12 feet.
Yeah. Now, is that from the parking lot or is that from the top of the interior wall? As for lack of
That's from the 107 of the parking lot
Okay. Okay.
to the
Yeah.
115.
That's just the information we need, so I can say to the board, here's the variance you're granting, and here's what the height is, and then they can make an informed decision. And let's see if anything else as far as that would apply to you. The tree location preservation plan, I think one needs to be provided. There are trees on that site that do meet the requirement for replacement. And it's just such a varied vegetation and topography on that site. I don't think doing an averaging type thing will do it. And I hate to put the applicant to that expense, but I don't know a way around it. And then the only other comment I have is really for the board, other than the architectural plan should show the colors and of the facade materials, is that if there's going to be optional outdoor storage areas, I think since they may or may not be constructed, there has to be some sort of a mechanism to have administrative control over them if they're changing, rather than have you come back to the board every time you're going to change an outdoor storage area.
One question, if I may, getting back to the tree location preservation plan.
Mhm.
Is it reasonable to request that rather than every tree, if we were to select a 1/4 acre area?
That's why I said, I on this site, I don't think it is. That's the problem, because it's so varied. I don't know if you can pick out a typical section. If you can convince me there's a typical section, I'll agree with it. I just don't know if there is.
All right, again, Mr. Alfieri.
And again, like, I hate to put the applicant to the expense of doing it, but I don't see a way around it. Maybe there is a way around it.
Sal?
Yes, Ron.
Okay, my question is, would you mind us pausing at this time? Not because of the time, but because I believe that a technical review meeting is in order in light of the different statements that are coming across and the fact that our new engineer doesn't really have a grasp upon this particular site and its ability to drain water. I believe that there's a lot of issues that could be wiped off the table in a technical review meeting as opposed to continuing on in this manner.
Yeah, we're probably
That's
about
fine.
7 minutes from the 45 minutes anyway.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
can confirm that.
We could have a
That's
technical
fine,
review.
Mr. Brick.
We would have something next week for you. If Mr. Besh, we always put the pressure on you, you can have everything together by that time.
Well, we definitely have the report that hadn't been circulated to Mr. Matlack tomorrow. A tree location survey by next week, highly unlikely.
No. I believe that we should have.
I think what
we should have a conversation about everything that Jim has questions about and get this wrapped up in a much neater bow than it is presently.
And we may be able to come up with some sort of a solution to a tree location and preservation plan that's not going to have you go out and measure every single tree on the site. I'd like to try and find something like that. I just don't know if it's possible. But by then we may be able to figure it out.
So that's fine, Mr. Kirk. We'll try and have the meeting next week with you, and we would request that the application be carried to the soonest available date, because we believe we can address these comments in sufficient time.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Can we carry this to the meeting? What is it, November 19th?
18th.
November 18th.
So let's on the record anyhow, let's carry to the meeting of November 18th, 2021 via Zoom, as indicated on tonight's agenda, without further publication or notice to surrounding property owners. It'll just be carried to the next meeting.
All right, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Board.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to the next case, number 3. Jill Heckerman, block 61.02, lot 10, 513 Blanchard Parkway, West Allenhurst, a R5 zone. This is an application to enlarge an existing porch and construct a covering above the required front yard setback and pre-existing non-conforming dwelling. The attorney representing tonight is Lisa C. Krinkle.
Okay, just a matter of housekeeping. Amy, you still on?
Yes.
Okay, I have never gotten the packets for numbers 3, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Is it possible for you to shoot them to me now?
Sure.
Okay, so I don't need, as a matter of fact, I did get number 4, which we don't need, but I didn't get this one, 3, or then 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if you can just shoot them to my email at this point, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't get them. I just got everything else.
Okay.
Okay. Get them.
Thank you. Is Jill Hickman available?
She is here.
Okay, thank you. Amy, can you mark the packet B1, please?
Yes.
It sounds like there's too many audio devices going off, too many in the same room, so someone has to cut back on one of their devices. I'll start with our professionals this time. And then I'll do a swearing in. Mr. Hagan.
Yes.
What you got?
Yeah, basically what the applicant is proposing to do is to cover a small porch area in the front of the house and then to extend the porch across a portion of the front of the house. The 2 variances are necessary. The front yard setback of 30 feet is required, and the covered porch, which will be an open covered porch, will be set back 25.1 feet. And the ordinance limits building coverage to 35% of buildable lot area. And the revised plot plan that they've submitted says that the coverage will be 35.6%. So it's barely over the 35%. I don't have a problem with either of these. The intent of the ordinance is to control massing and visual impact. And quite frankly, this is an open porch. It's going to help the livability of the house. And I don't see any substantial negative impact in terms of visibility or visual impact or massing. The zoning officer had 2 concerns. One is that the existing in-ground pool and the pool surround and the patio appear to have been installed all within the required side and rear setbacks. And she just wanted something on the record about that, if the applicant has any idea why it happened, when it happened, that type of thing. And then the existing garage is non-conforming, and should it ever be demolished or replaced, it would have to be put back in a conforming location. Other than that, I don't see any issues with the application.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Mr. Matlock, what do you have?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any engineering issues with this application. There's minimal impact to the site, and I agree with what Mr. Higgins said.
Okay, thank you, sir. So back to the applicant. Are you testifying tonight or your attorney?
I'm going to testify for her unless you have any questions. It seems like It's just a nice covered porch. If you have any questions, I think we've submitted everything. If you need anything from Jill, the homeowner, the applicant, she's here to answer any questions.
Okay, so have you appear, so who's going to testify? That's my question.
I guess I will. Lisa
Okay.
Frankel.
So you have appeared before us before in the past? This board?
Wait a minute. Lisa's the attorney. She's
No,
not
I'm an
testifying.
attorney. I'm not calling an engineer or anything for this.
Okay.
I understand that, but Lisa cannot testify, okay? Right?
All right.
You have a client who's going to testify, right?
That's
I'll
what I'm
have to
trying
go
to,
in.
that's
Jill
what
will
I'm trying to
testify.
establish. That's
I'm
all.
gonna
Let's
unmute
swear.
her.
Let's swear her in, okay?
Right, so,
Thank you.
can you please raise your right hand?
Is she unmuted?
She's there. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Thank you. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Jill Heckman, 513 Blanchard Parkway, West Allen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us why you're here tonight?
To get a variance to put a porch on my house, a front porch.
Okay. Professionals have any questions?
Okay, why do you want a front porch, right? You got a reason, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
to sit on and enjoy sitting out on the front porch. That's all.
Okay, and it's going to be covered, right?
It'll have a roof. Yes.
Right, so that's going to help you when it rains and inclement weather. So with the
Yeah.
getting into your house
What?
during bad weather, it'll be easier to go through the front
Oh.
door. You won't have to stand outside and try to get your keys going and stuff.
Yes.
It's going to help you in inclement weather, and it's
Yeah.
also going to, in hot weather, it's going to give shade to the front of the house.
Yes.
Okay, okay, all right. I'm good.
All right, since the engineer spoke and the planner spoke, does the board members have any questions of this applicant? No questions from the board. Okay. With that being said, is there anyone from the public that would like to be here on this applicant? No one from the public. With that being said, I need a motion to close the public section.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Just wait a minute. Well, you know what? Before that, if let's go back 1 second, and I do apologize. Jim, you said that our zoning officer wants some information concerning the pool.
She mentioned the fact that the pool surround was non-conforming, and she thought that the applicant should address it. I don't know how long it's been in there, what the circumstances were when it was constructed.
Ms. Heckerman, when you bought the house, was the pool there?
No.
Okay, you put the pool in when?
30 plus years ago.
Okay, and I assume that the pool surround was constructed by whoever installed your pool?
Yes.
And it was your impression that all the appropriate applications and permits were given and granted?
Absolutely, yes.
And it's been that way for 30 years and nobody has complained?
Never.
Okay.
And the other thing is
And-
zoning officer's comments were that the standards back when this pool was constructed were less than they are now. It was like a 5 foot instead of 10 feet. And
Okay, and
so
30
a
years
minor
ago,
deviation, it's not significant.
right, 30 years ago, it may have complied.
Yes.
Jim. Okay,
Or
and then
came
you do
close.
it,
It didn't quite comply, but it came close to compliance.
okay. Do we need to grant a variance for that?
I think for her to be on the safe side, I would think so.
So we would grant a variance for the pool surround. I don't have the packet in front of me, as you know. What is the distance on the pool surround? Oh, is it shown in the report?
Not on my report, no, and not on the zoning officer's report, I don't think. And give me a second, I'll see if I can pull it up again.
So we could, if the board so desires, we can grant a variance for the pool surround, so we'll make it legit. And you do, while he's looking for that, Ms. Eckerman, you understand that your garage is non-conforming. It doesn't have the right setbacks. And that if it's wherever destroyed or you want to take it down, it'll have to be reconstructed in a conforming location, or you'd have to come and apply for a variance.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have a copy of the plan readily available and the zoning officer doesn't say what those setbacks are.
Mark, I have a copy of the plan, and I'm scaling it off. It looks like from the rear yard, the pool surround is about 2.5 feet from the rear yard property line.
2.5, 2.5,
2.5,
TWO?
I would say.
Okay, and you need 10, you need 7 now or 10?
You need 10 now.
10.
You need
And
10,
from the
okay.
side yard, it looks like it's about 2 feet.
And we need 10 for that too?
10, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you're also requesting a variance, the Sacrament, for the rear and side yard setbacks of your pool surround.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, we
requesting
are.
that.
Thank you. Yes, we are.
Oh,
Okay.
we are?
Yes, Jill.
Yeah, we are, so we can legitimize it while we're here.
Okay,
You know,
While we're here,
While we're here, we'll do
get
it.
it over with.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think there was a motion on the floor to close the public hearing.
Yes, there was a motion, and I believe did somebody second it? I need a second.
Second,
Thank you. Okay. I need a positive resolution.
We need to vote
No,
first.
no, wait, we skipped
Oh,
a thing.
vote.
We need a vote on the close the public hearing.
All right, Ray, Nicole, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Delomo,
Yes.
Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, what the applicant is requesting tonight is a front yard setback for her new porch at 25.1 feet, where 30 is required. Lot coverage of 35.6%, where 35% is permitted. And her pool surround at 2.5 feet from the rear yard line and applied 2 feet from the side yard line, where she both needs 10. All conditioned upon her understanding that her garage is non-conforming location, and if destroyed or removed, would have to be relocated in a conforming location, or a variance would be required to rebuild,
And the pool is 9 feet from both property lines.
which has to be 10, right?
It has to be 10, yeah.
Yeah, pool, I got it all.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Steinberg. I need someone to offer.
I'll offer a positive resolution.
Thank you.
I'll
A second. Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Delomo,
Yes.
Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good luck, and please check on Amy tomorrow for any other required paperwork.
okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Our next case is Jack and Sylvia Ashkenazi, block 11.01, lot 3, 1036 Norwood Avenue, Ocean, in an R4 zone. This is an application to construct an in-ground pool with a pool patio, equipment, fence, cabana, and driveway on an existing through lot of frontage on Norwood Avenue and the unimproved Lockwood Place. This dwelling is a pre-existing non-conforming, and it does not meet the requirement front yard and side yard setback. Our attorney for tonight is Jennifer Krenko.
Now, Mr. Chair, there has been a change to the application. I believe that Ms. Krimko is removing the driveway from this application. Am I correct? Jen, you're muted.
Yeah, for the record,
That's-
Jennifer Krimko from Enso Grimm and Aaron. And we're not removing it per se. What I would propose to do, Mr. Worrell, because there was some question with regard to the driveway, and there were comments with regard to its safety, and we wanted an opportunity to redesign, but we don't want to hold up the whole application. So what I was discussing with Jim and with Ron in advance of the hearing is that we essentially bifurcate the driveway from this application. And what that would mean is that we basically put the driveway to the side and just hear all of the other variance relief we're seeking. And then we would return at the next meeting specifically and only for the driveway. And I think that that also simplifies things quite a bit because both your engineer and your planner had no issue with all of the other variances. So it allows the portion of the application to go forward that your professionals don't take issue with, and allows us a little more time to hopefully come up with a plan that would satisfy them with the driveway.
It's certainly doable legally, Mr. Chairman, and it probably would move the case a little bit faster tonight.
Okay, thank you. So Amy, can you mark your packet B1, please?
Yes.
And who will be testifying tonight?
I have Jason Fitchter from Inside Engineering testifying as an engineer and a planner. And aside from the plans that were submitted that are in the packet, I do have 2 exhibits that I will put up. Amy usually has up. I'd ask Amy to let me share my screen.
Okay.
And I can.
I'm going to ask for the professionals report first. So if Mr. Higgins can go
Okay,
first.
and I would just ask both Ben and Jim to skip over the driveway portion for now, and we'll address it at the next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Higgins, you're up.
Okay. Yeah, there are 3 variances that are necessary. One is for the construction of the pool within the Lockwood Place front yard. The other is construction for the pool within 7 feet of the side yard, and then 10 feet is required there. Within the front yard, 30 feet is required because it's a through lot. So the Lockwood Place is technically a front yard. And then the maximum height of the fence wall within a required front yard, 4 foot, maximum 4 foot fence hedge wall is required, is permitted. And the plan proposes 6 foot in both Norwood Avenue and the Lockwood Place front yards, and a 5 foot high combined wall on the Lockwood Place front yard. With regard to Lockwood Place, it really functions, it's a public street, but it functions more as a driveway. It's only 12 feet wide in terms of its paved surface. The right of way is, I think, about 15 to 20 feet wide. So it's really more of a driveway than a public street. So I don't have problems with the fence and wall in that location. And with regard to Norwood Avenue, again, what's being proposed is not ostentatious by any means, and I think it makes sense to give them a little bit of privacy. So I don't have problems with the variances that are requested tonight.
What was the number for the side yard for the pool?
Actually, the
7
pool is
feet.
10, no, the pool is 10 feet. The pool patio is 7 feet.
Okay.
If the patio is 7 feet and it's not more than 3 feet wide, then no variance.
It is more than 3. It is
okay.
not as it's
Okay.
adjacent to the pool,
Yeah.
but it is as it gets closer to
Okay,
Norwood.
yeah, that's right. It extends to the
Yep.
east more. Yeah, that's correct. So technically, it's mainly to have the patio, the pool surrounding the patio be consistent, so you don't have a jog.
Correct.
And no matter what, we don't make the 30 feet for the front yard on Lockwood.
On Lockwood, yeah. And
No, but
Because
it
it
is-
actually functions as a rear yard for this property. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
that's correct.
Okay, I don't have the packet, that's why I'm,
All right, and
Yeah, okay.
Mark, just to add, it doesn't quite, the pool patio doesn't quite make the 30 feet on Norwood. However, it is set back behind the house.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Higgins. Our engineer, Mr. Matlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of my comments were related to stormwater. It looks like there is a thought out design stormwater system proposed for the site. I don't believe I received any stormwater calculations and need some 2 foot separation from the seasonal high water table, which I wanted to see on the plans. And that's most of what my comments were. There was a little bit of discussion about grading near the retaining wall as well. So I'll let the applicant's engineer talk about that. I'm sure he did have calculations for the stormwater management that he can submit. So I don't really think there's going to be any issues with that.
And
Okay.
I think that the calculations are actually on the plan instead of as a separate submission. But
Okay.
Jason can address it. But again, we didn't take any exception to your letter and we can comply with everything you asked for.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Matlack. Okay, Counselor, you can proceed.
Thank you. And just A1 is, and I'm going to share it on my screen, is a site layout exhibit prepared by Insight Engineering dated 10/18/21. And A2 is a neighborhood exhibit. And that's also dated 10/18/21, and it was prepared by Insight. And if I could have Jason sworn, qualified, and then I will put up the exhibits.
Okay. Can you please raise your right hand? Please state your name and address.
Jason Fitchter, Insight Engineering, 1955 Route 34 in Wall.
Thank you, sir. And do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
And you're a licensed engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey, and you've testified in this board, before this board in that capacity in the past.
I have, and yes.
We'd submit him as an expert in both of those, Mr. Worrell.
Yes, sir.
I like when you call me sir, Mr. Worrell.
Thank you, Counselor. I said we will accept it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, which exhibit would you like me to start with? The neighborhood?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. All right, you want me to run through it?
Yep.
Okay, so this is 1036 Norwood Avenue. It's block 11.01, lot 3. We're in the R4 medium density single family residential zone. The lot is a through lot with frontage on Norwood Avenue, and then in the back, as Mr. Higgins said, it's essentially an alley. It's not really labeled anywhere on the tax maps or anything, but we believe it's known as Lockwood Place. The property is currently improved with a single family home and a detached garage, and then we have a driveway from Lockwood. And the surrounding neighborhood, excuse me, the surrounding neighborhood is a fully developed single family neighborhood. So the applicant's proposing to construct in-ground swimming pool, the patio around it, the pool equipment, a pool fence. There's a pool house adjacent to the main house. There's no interior connection to the main house, though. It's just adjacent. And then the ancillary walkways, there's a landscaped wall. It maxes out at 15 feet high. Oh, geez, no way. 15 inches high, but it's generally less than 12 inches. And that's just a matter of drainage. We do have drainage improvements, as Mr. Matlack said. And of course, we have some landscaping around the pool as well. In terms of stormwater management, this is not a major development for stormwater management regulation. It's important to note that with the proposed improvements, we do remain under the building and lot coverage limits. But regardless, we are proposing a stormwater management system to capture stormwater runoff equivalent to the area of the increase in impervious surface that we're proposing. And then the stormwater system will handle the 100-year storm, which was a request by Mr. Matlack. So we've accomplished all that. And the calculations are on the plan. If I recall correctly, I believe it's the third sheet in the top left. We have all the calculations up there, but if anything's further is needed, we could certainly do that.
And Jason, you heard me stipulate that we can comply with his letter in its entirety, correct?
Yes. Yep, we can.
Okay, and with regard to the pool patio, the area I'm pointing at here is the area where, rather than jog it in and have it uneven, we just had it go in line with the pool.
That's
with
correct.
The pool walkway.
That's correct.
Okay, and from a plan, just very quickly, because I think that the board's planner did a great job summarizing the reasons why this would be appropriate. Just very briefly, if you could just share with the board from a planning perspective why the variances should be granted.
Sure. I think the biggest thing here to consider is the unique nature of this lot being a through lot and what Lockwood Place really is. It creates a bit of a technicality for us because it's a front yard, but for us, it's really the rear yard. So in a traditional, are we okay? I was getting some feedback. All right, we're good.
Yep.
So in a traditional sense, you want to have your pool in the rear yard for privacy and also to help maintain a residential streetscape. But technically speaking, we don't have a rear yard. And we're also maintaining the existing home and garage, and they occupy the northern half of the property, which is the right half of the property as viewed from Norwood. From a layman's perspective, our front yard is along Norwood and our rear yard is along Lockwood. So with all this considered, I think the most logical place to put the pool is in the southwest corner of the property, or as a layman would call it, the back left.
And
So again-
Jason, is this consistent with the development of the other homes that also have frontage on Lockwood?
Yeah, there's only a few homes. I think there's 9 in total, but really there's 7 in this immediate neighborhood. And they all back up to Lockwood. It's essentially used as an alley, or as Mr. Higgins said, it's basically like a driveway. They're the only people that will access that road.
Okay, so
that-
there's
that is
there's no impact in your opinion with regard then to the pool setback and to the hedge height, which is going to be blocking the fence that's there. And with regard to the hedge height and fence in the front yard on Norwood, because that's a state highway and is set back nearly the 30 feet, is it your opinion that there's no real impact there as well?
That is my opinion, yes. In a grand summary, it is.
Okay, so based on all of this, do you feel that we're furthering the purposes of the miscellaneous law and not causing any substantial detriment to the public good and or the zone plan and master plan?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Higgins. I don't see any substantial detriment to the public. I don't see any substantial detriment to the master plan. As a matter of fact, I think we advance a few of the purposes of the master plan. So I think in terms of the negative criteria, we're in very good shape, and I really don't see any impacts at all.
Great. Mr. Chair, are there any questions for Jason, either with regard to engineering or planning?
Does anyone from the board have questions for this gentleman? No questions from the board.
That's all I have this evening with regard to the variances that were discussed in Jim's report. So subject to the public being able to comment and ask questions, I would ask that the board vote on the variances related to the pool patio, the fence, the hedge and the pool house, and then adjourn the driveway variance to the board's next meeting.
Okay. Is anyone from the public who would like to question the applicant? No one from the public? All right, I need a motion to close the public session.
As to all issues except for the driveway, okay?
Right, the driveways that come back later on.
I'll make a
Somebody
motion
move
to
that.
close the public hearing.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second,
Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Delomo, Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay, can we have Mr. Steinberg sum up
Right.
our
Yeah, they're requesting, I believe, 3 variances. One for the pool to be actually in a front yard because it's the Lockwood Place situation. Number 2, that the side yard is slightly deficient for the pool surround, and the same thing for the front of the pool surround because it's not 30 feet from Norwood Avenue, although it's actually even with the house and maybe even slightly back from portions of the house, and that the wall fence is slightly over the height permitted, but for the reasons given by the applicant and its experts and our professional, there shouldn't be any detriment.
And also just the hedge in front of the fence as well.
Well, isn't that the wall fence situation with the hedge?
No, the wall and fence are one and the hedge is a separate one. At least
all right, but the hedge is also a
yes,
fence,
it's the
isn't it?
same justification. It's
yeah.
the same justifications. It's just to provide privacy and to shield the pool from view.
And fine, okay, yeah, that's what she's asking for.
Thank you. I need someone to offer.
I'll make a motion to close the resolution.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Delomo, Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Worrell, I would ask that you just carry the remainder of the application to the board's next meeting on the record without further notice. The applicant understands that if we make a revision to the driveway that necessitates new notice, we will do that.
Okay. Amy, can we accommodate at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that's
Thank-
November 18th?
18th.
Yes.
Okay, with no further notice. Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
All right, our next case, number 6, we have Eli and Alexandria's Ben Zakin, block 33.01, lot 5, 531 West Lincoln Avenue, Oakhurst, zone R4. This is an application to keep an in-the-ground pool and patio constructed within the required side and rear yard setback. And we have an attorney with us tonight, Michael P. Castone?
Story, close.
Story, okay, thank you.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. For the record, Michael Castori, attorney for the applicant, property owner, Eli Ben Zakin and Alexia Chelkroon. Briefly, as you said, applicant is seeking bulk variance relief and approval to permit the existing in-ground pool and patio in their current location. This does have a similar flavor to the previous application, except that it was intended to be constructed originally in a conforming configuration, and when it was actually constructed, it was slightly non-conforming. So we are back in front of the board to legalize what is existing.
Okay. Amy, can you please mark the packet B1?
Yes.
And I would like to hear from our township officials. Mr. Higgins, you're up.
Sure. Okay, yeah, the variances are necessary. The pool is supposed to be set back 10 feet and it's set back 9.7 feet from the rear property line. The pool patio is set back 8 feet from the side and 9 feet from the rear property lines. The setback of the pool, I think, is de minimis. It's about 5 inches. So I don't see that as be a major consideration. With regard to the setback of the pool patio, the side setback involves a 7-foot-long section of the patio, not the entire patio. It's about 11 square feet. And then the rear setback deviation involves a 20-foot-long section of the patio, or approximately 20 square feet. It'd be possible to eliminate them both. I just don't think it would accomplish that much to do so. So that's something the board has to hear the testimony and decide what they want to do.
Okay, Mr. Higgins, thank you. Our engineer, Mr. Matlock. You're muted, sir.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only comment about that, the application, is that it's a little unclear on how the patio drains. I just want some clarification from the applicant on the drainage pattern. It looks like there are flow arrows shown, but the patio itself looks to be pretty flat, and I just want to make sure there are no drainage issues for the patio itself.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, who's going to testify?
Yes, so I actually have 3 witnesses available, but only one that I plan to present direct testimony, which is our engineer, Chester De Lorenzo, who's also a professional planner. And then I also have available the property owner, Eli Ben Zakin, and Neil Coyne of Anthony and Sylvan Pools, who was the project manager, for the project. So if I may, if we can bring up the engineer, and I believe he can address the drainage and any other potential issues.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record?
My name is Chester Di Lorenzo, 82 Walnut Hill Lane, Freehold, New Jersey.
And you've testified before our board before?
I have.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you. You're up, sir.
For the board's edification, I'm a professional engineer, professional planner, and professional land surveyor in the state of New Jersey. And I've appeared here before rather than going to litany of my past experience. I would hope that would be minimum qualification to speak tonight. The property is situate at 531 West Lincoln Avenue, the corner of Whale Pond and West Lincoln. The lot is 7,441 square feet in the R4 zone. It's substantially undersized compared to the 10,000 square feet it's allowed to be. We applied for and were granted a permit to construct a pool in 2018. At that time, and this is a conjecture, I believe that the pool, I know the pool is supposed to be 10 feet from the dwelling and everything would fit very nicely. It turned out that they put the pool in 10.2 feet from the dwelling. So effectively they were 2.5 feet long, and that makes the pool about 3.5 inches too far into the rear yard setback, because everyone used the dwelling as their measuring point, and dwelling is not parallel with the front yard setback. So effectively, the fact that the house is a little bit crooked made the pool a little bit crooked, and they're over the setback line, and it's the applicant's request that the board consider granting a variance as opposed to tearing out the pool for 3.5 inches. So the rear property line, again, it's on a skew, and there's a little bit more closer to the line than we were supposed to have. In answer to the engineer's questions, this was approved by Greg Blash back in 2018, and one of his comments was that, and I'm quoting a letter that we wrote to him, it says, since the pool is directing runoff to adjacent properties, he's requesting a dry well system be added to account for the increase in runoff from the proposed development. So as such, along the rear of the dwelling, we have run a header system of PVC pipes into a 492 cubic foot dry well, which is measured some 10 by 12 by 4 feet deep, located on the easterly side of the dwelling behind the driveway closest to Whale Pond Road. And that picks up all the stormwater from the rear roof from the back two downspouts, and therefore we have a much nicer drainage pattern, less water is running to the rear properties than was existing. And in the unlikely event that this system were to overflow, it's within 40 feet of an existing catch basin. So essentially, this has got the belt and suspenders that Mr. Blash requested. I believe this should be adequate for Mr. Matlack as well, in that the applicant did take into consideration the stormwater runoff and the impervious coverage of the patio, and it all runs into a system. We also tested the soil for recharge. It's an excellent stand running around K4, which is which is 6 to 20 inches per hour as far as discharge is concerned. So with that said, I'm indicating that the pool is constructed. Then we went through the as-built on it in 2019. I'm sorry? I'm sorry.
I believe that was just feedback.
Not a problem. The pool is constructed. When we did the as-built to get the C of O, we determined that the construction was in fact over the setback lines adequately to request a variance, that some minor mistake had been made, but the mistake is important enough that we should bring it to this board's attention and request the fact that we would like a variance for the minor bulk issues we're looking at. With regards to the land use and the planning testimony, I wish to state that there's two ways to look at this application. The first of which is hardship, because the lot is undersized and it's got a unique shape, which even though the mistake was made during construction, it was a non-forgiving mistake, because the extra 2.5 inches between the dwelling and the pool caused a 3.5 inch error because of a skewed rear line. The other way of looking at it is the benefits outweighing the detriments, in that the anticipated pool that the applicant requested has been constructed on the property, and to go back now after the fact and run heavy equipment across the recharge basin and to cut the minor amount of patio off, as Mr. Higgins said, about 10 square feet, to make the application work would be more intrusive to the neighbors and the applicant than I believe than the request to have the application granted. So effectively, I believe that the benefits outweigh the detriments, and that there's a hardship on this property due to the unique shape of the lot. Mr. Castoria, that's all I have to say.
Great, thank you very much. We want to keep it brief, but of course, put on the record and answer any questions that the board may have or the public.
Does the board have any questions for this gentleman? No questions? Do you have another witness you'd like to call?
I would offer if you want to speak to the property owner or the gentleman from the pool company, you may.
Your call.
I do not plan to put them on for direct testimony.
Okay.
Yeah, I have enough testimony for a resolution in the event the board seeks to grant the variance relief.
With that being said, is there anyone from the public that would like to ask any questions regarding this application? No one from the public. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Move it.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Delomo, Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Steinberg will tell us what we need as far as a motion.
They're asking for affirmative relief. They have a pool that's set back 9.7 feet, where 10 feet is required, and the pool surround, rear and side are 8 feet and 9, well, side 8 feet, rear 9 feet, where 10 feet is required. You've heard the testimony. It's, it's a small amount, and there was an error in construction.
Okay, I need someone to offer.
Offer.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay, congratulations. Good luck.
Appreciate the board's time and look forward to presenting in front of you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next case, Sam Franco, Block 17, Lot 16, 323 Wells Avenue, Oakhurst, an R4 zone. This is an application to convert a pre-existing, non-conforming attached garage to a cabana with necessary variances for accessory building over 150 square feet within the rear yard setback. Mr. Franco, you with us?
Unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm here.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Amy, could you please mark Mr. Franco's packet B1?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask our professionals to go first. Mr. Higgins.
Yes, basically the applicant wants to convert an existing garage to a pool cabana without changing any of the parameters of the building itself. And then in order to make up for the loss of the garage, to construct a conforming driveway on, I think it's Wells Avenue. Yeah, on Wells Avenue, which satisfies the requirement for off-street parking on the site. There are no variances are necessary for the driveway. He also wants to construct a deck, and there's no variances necessary for the deck. The existing garage is over 150 square feet. Its location is non-conforming, and the ordinance says if you're going to modify any non-conforming structure, you then require a variance. So that's really the situation. I did note that there's an issue with regard to the architectural plans in terms of the scale, and that the scale should be corrected on that. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with the application.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Our engineer, Mr. Matlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The thing that I wanted clarification on was it looks like on their pool grading plan, they're showing the proposed garage, proposed pool, patio, deck, and I believe the application only talks about the garage. So just some clarification on that. I also noted that the plans were not exactly to scale, the architectural plan, and I also noted the survey wasn't to scale as well. But other than that, I don't really have a problem with what they're proposing.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Franco, I need to swear you in. If you can raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, so tell us why you're here tonight.
So I'm here to, as Mr. Higgins explained, to convert my existing garage into a pool house. You know, with COVID, we've been spending a lot more time with the family outside. Like to renovate the backyard to better entertain. If there are any questions, I have my architect, Mike Severisi here, who can answer any questions. But I think just to clarify, the only part of the renovation that needs a variance is the garage. Everything else has been approved by the board. But if there are any, if I'm wrong, Mike can clarify. Mike, if you can take over.
Sure. Can I share my screen?
Yes, yes, I can swear you in.
You swear me in too, right?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead. And the two engineers, our engineer and our planner, had a question regarding the scale. So if you can
Yes,
address that.
unfortunately, when we PDF this, it came out of scale. We can send another plan over to the town that is the scale, but this is the scaling factor from converting from CAD to PDF.
Okay. Do you have, okay, go ahead.
So basically what we're talking about, as aptly Jim and the engineer said, is we have an existing garage that we're not changing the footprint. We're converting it into a cabana that has a kitchen area, a living area, a bathroom, and a laundry area. The pool has been already approved and is in place. The deck is evened out, and the two parking spaces that were taken away from the garage are actually put back to the well side of the property. It is all there. As Jim said, we're at the, because there's over 100 square feet, and we need to take care of the setbacks are there. But since the building is existing, it's in a sense a moot point. So we're not adding any deficiencies to the site other than actually taking a couple away.
Is the garage open?
The garage is.
I mean, the cabana, excuse me, the cabana, is it?
I can show you, hold on.
Yeah,
So,
we have an elevation.
Yep. So. Sorry about that. A little bit. So that's the existing garage, and we're taking out this wall, and this is where the garage doors are, and we're putting in folding glass wall, an open area, and leaving the back pretty much intact with the structure that's there, and adding the bathroom and the storage area. And so the front half of the garage will appear more open than it was, with everything else about the garage, the roof, and the two side walls remaining the same. So it's only two interior
Conditioned
walls
and
opening
heated?
up.
Will this be air conditioned or heated?
No, it will not.
Okay, I think that needs to be sort of a condition. So that future owners don't rent it out, because it looks
Correct.
like it could be used as a separate unit.
I can live there, but that's not the intent here. This is the intent. Is
No, no, I know your intent, and I'm not, I'm just saying that future owners of the property, we can't control. And
As you
Jim,
can see,
anything else?
It's open to the house and open to the side, and the two sides that are non-conforming have no renovations to them other than new windows.
Right. And if there's no heat or air conditioning, then it doesn't become a living unit. Is that correct, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna have electricity, it's gonna have a bathroom, it's gonna have a kitchen, so, but if it doesn't have HVAC, then, you know, heating or air conditioning, I think that we can do that as a condition.
Yep.
Great, thank you. I think that's it from me. Is there any questions?
Okay, does anyone from the board have a question for the applicant or architect? All right, since no one has a question from the board, does anyone from the public have a question for this applicant? No questions for the public. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to
Motion to
close.
close.
No, second.
Thank you very much, both of you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay, I need Mr. Steinberg to sum it up for us on the.
Right, it's kind of a simple application of converting the garage on the same footprint to a cabana. But since it is a structure that's more than 150 square feet in size as an accessory structure, it requires a 30-foot rear yard setback. It has 11.1 existing. He's asking for that to remain. And then also as a condition of this approval, we would provide there can be no heat or air conditioning in the cabana, so it does not become a residential use or dwelling in some future date, not by this applicant.
Okay, thank you. Anything?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the consideration.
Well, we didn't,
Oh,
they didn't vote yet.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet. I need someone
Somebody
from
has
the
to-
board to offer.
Offer.
Second.
Thank you very much, both of you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Congratulations and best of luck to you.
Once again, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, our last case of the evening. I'm doing pretty good on time. Frank Ruggiero, third, and Kelly, is it Binus? Block 140.17, lot 7, 303 Belmont Avenue, Ocean, an R4 zone. This is an application to install a 6-foot fence within the front yard setback on Colonial Avenue. It is a corner property with 2 frontages. Is our applicant here?
Present.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Amy, could you please mark the packet B1? And Mr. Higgins, you can go first.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, it's a corner lot and you typically have problems with fences on corner lots. In this instance, the applicant wants to put a 6-foot high fence within 19 feet of the front property line where 30 feet setback is required. 4 foot is permitted for, 4 foot high is permitted for a solid fence, and this will be a solid fence. For any fence, I'm sorry, for any fence, 4 feet is permitted. 3 feet is permitted for a solid fence, and this will be a solid 6-foot high fence. This property backs up to a vacant township property, which then abuts Asbury Avenue. It's a very heavily traveled area. I have no problem at all with them wanting to put the fence in. There's a lot of existing vegetation along Colonial Avenue in that area, and that will help screen this fence significantly. So I don't even see the need for additional vegetation to help screen the fence, which is going to help them use their backyard better and give them more privacy in an area where they really need it.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Our engineer, Mr. Matlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only concern this application is that the NJDEP GeoWeb website shows that there are wetlands located to the south of the property, and any permit that would be required would be the responsibility of the applicant, and that is a state permit that is all applications that come before the board are subject to outside agency approvals. So that would be just my only comment on this.
Okay, sir, thank you. All
Are
right.
you saying, Ben, that they need that permit?
I don't know if they do or not, but if if a permit is required, it's the responsibility of the applicant.
So if they make an application to our building department, would the building department know if they need that?
They,
No,
no, they would not.
they would not.
I don't know how to control it is what I'm, all right. We have the standard that all agency and state and federal requirements are the applicant's responsibility. Got it. I just don't know how that kicks in if it's not on their property.
All right, can the applicant raise your right hand? I'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, so tell us tonight why you're here.
I'm here to get that 6-foot fence that Mr. Higgins put out there earlier. I have a newborn son. He's just a week old now. Wanted to enjoy a backyard. We have the Coca-Cola plant that might be turning into something big and a lot of traffic coming through the area soon. I would just like to have some privacy with my family, and also have a dog that I'd like to let her roam around the backyard and enjoy herself.
Okay. Does any board member have questions for this applicant? No questions from the board? Anyone from the public have a question for this applicant? Being there's no questions, I need someone to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
And thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Manel, Mr. Manel,
Yes. Sorry about that.
that's okay. Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Did we lose Mr. DeLomo here?
Yeah, he hasn't been answering.
Okay. Okay.
So I need, so where would you leave? I'll close the public hearing. So Mr. Steinberg, can you sum it up for us?
Yeah, the applicant wants to put up a 6-foot high fence where a solid fence maximum is 3 feet permitted. He's going to be 19 feet back from his property line where he's required 30. And it seems from the testimony that he really needs this to enclose his dog and have a play area for his newborn son. Congratulations. And it's an area that's pretty heavily trafficked along Asbury Avenue that he does need protection from and privacy.
Thank you. So I need someone to please offer.
Offer. I'll second.
Thank you, and thank you. Amy, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Fuller,
I vote yes, and also offer my congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manel,
Yes.
Mr. Ashkenazi,
Yes. Congratulations as well.
Thank you.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes, and ditto.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes, and the best of luck to you. Talk to Amy tomorrow if she needs any more paperwork and take you there. So thank you, everyone. That was our last case.